It's no revelation to say that today the Ukrainian Orthodox Church is a focus of particular attention of nationalized mass media. Virtually all the video plots, programs and published stuff related to the Church are highlighted in bold negative. The Church is charged in everything what is believed to be a sin from the point of view of journalists, functionaries and experts. They are praying for peace, but nobody knows what kind of peace it is. What is Moscow Patriarchate and who does it serve? There have been raised questions in Ukraine. What should we do with the Moscow Patriarchate? It's evident. It shouldn't be proven to anyone. Still, what are we going to do with the Moscow Patriarchate? The less Moscow Patriarchate we have, the better it is on the earth. They are scams and bastards who began this war in the East. What do we need this church for? It has to be driven away from here. They are an extremist terrorist organization, that is. We must do away with it as we did with the communists. I'd say to forbid Moscow Patriarchate priests. That's all. The fact that Ukrainian actors in the field of media technologies have no scruples about false accusations, manipulations with facts, or on top of that flagrant lies has become habitual, unsurprising and not offending with the majority. The authors of some recent programs do not even care about courtesy rules or being relevant to the discussion and investigation format, at least apparently, but have slipped back to standard propaganda. Anyway, today we would like to talk about the smallest and perhaps the most innocent manipulation, almost a prank. The point is just a position of the current primate of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, Metropolitan Onuphriy, and Metropolitan Vladimir, who reposed in the Lord 2 years ago. For a while, after the election of his Beatitude Onuphriy as primate of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, some journalists allowed themselves to speak the truth about him and to let on the air what ordinary Ukrainians spoke about him. Polit-expert from Chernovtsi Igor Berkut affirms Onuphriy, thanks to his personal qualities, is not perceived in Bukovina as a Russia stooge. Even the people who come out under the slogan "Get away the Moscow priest" behave less radical when they hear about Metropolitan Onuphriy. People love him. However, after a while the situation changed dramatically and the primate of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church began to be depicted in the darkest hues possible. Anti-Ukrainian views of Metropolitan Onuphriy. His Beatitude Onuphriy sees a purely Russian orthodoxy as an ideal Christ Church. The council elected anti-Ukrainian person. Some experts opened the eyes of Ukrainians to a number of awful utterances of Metropolitan Onuphriy. It is in line with what Surkov propaganda tells about the civil war. At times, however, they just lacked words. Fight against ecumenical orthodoxy. Simultaneously, TV channels and printed publications broadcast a conceptual line portraying deceased Metropolitan Vladimir as a devoted Ukrainophilic and a patriot. One should admit during 23 years when Metropolitan Vladimir used to head the Moscow Patriarchate Church, the UOC MP was believed and perceived mainly as a Ukrainian church. It was Vladimir who personally maintained distance from the Russian church and formed a pro-Ukrainian wing within the Moscow Patriarchate Church. The most faithful media experts and journalists trying to emphasize an alleged anti-Ukrainian position of Metropolitan Onuphriy suddenly began to speak, vying with each other, about patriotism and pro-Ukrainian position of the previous primate of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. And unyielding Vladimir was going to be replaced. He purportedly allowed worshipping in the Ukrainian language. He was photographed wearing a vyshyvanka and fought with Moscow as hard as he could. And ultimately, Metropolitan Vladimir had merely agreed on having a union with schismatics from the Kiev Patriarchate. He was almost dreaming of getting united with them to become one local church. And only weak health and premature death prevented him from fulfilling those patriotic plans. The picture appears bright and vivid indeed. It is clearly created to pull the poor lost patriots out of the clinging claws of the Russian world apologists and direct them into the bosom of truly patriotic church, Kiev Patriarchate, while, they say, make a transition by the entire communities. For the transition statistics of the UOCKP is rather bleak, actually. Recent director of the State Committee of Ukraine for Nationalities and Religions, Alexander Sagan, is frustrated about it in particular. Unfortunately, among 12,500 communities, about 100 is about to change their jurisdiction. It is within the statistic error. Yet, certain fragments of this puzzle do not match. Not so long ago, the Ukrainophilic and patriotic level of his Beatitude Vladimir was evaluated by well-known media figures absolutely differently in Ukraine. Let's take a closer look at that. We'll start with probably the most authoritative personality. What else can the director of the Department for Religions of the Ministry of Culture be? Religious expert Andrei Yurash, a patriot from the capital letter, a man who knows nearly everything about the religion in Ukraine, including the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. A few years ago, when Metropolitan Vladimir was still alive, Mr. Yurash gave an extended interview in which he particularly dwelt on the primate of the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. Metropolitan Vladimir, whose Ukrainian self-consciousness is never to be doubted, made plenty of efforts to put into long-term storage in Ukraine a conservation area of the Russian Church obscurantism, chauvinism and anti-Ukrainian mood. Another example. Ukrainian consciousness and spirituality, the years of Metropolitan Vladimir's office are definitely fully or partially lost years. I'll say even more radically, Metropolitan Vladimir is either a fool in Christ or feeble or both. This is not an opinion of a street person, but of the civil servant who is currently a key figure representing the state vis-à-vis churches. It would be interesting to learn an opinion about the deceased Metropolitan from Petrograd, Vice-Rector of Ostrog Academy National University. Of course, Metropolitan Vladimir appeared before cameras from time to time wearing Ukrainian embroidered shirts and with children dressed in national outfits. Yet, if one refers to his official speeches, articles, which are published primarily in Russian, there is not much pro-Ukrainian there. Instead, one will find in his discourse an outspoken pro-Russian policy in church-related issues, an actual refusal to perform worships in Ukrainian. In fact, we had a powerful fragment of the Russian world rather than the evolution of the Ukrainian Church. Similar ideas were expressed by the journalist, particularly in the article by Vadim Denisenko, "Putin was gifted with the Ukrainian Church." There has been much told lately in the press that Vladimir Sabadan was autocephalous, that he wanted to enlarge the church autonomy, etc. Actually, these talks are hardly substantiated. There can be cited lots of more similar examples, but it seems a waste of time. It's clear already Metropolitan Vladimir was charged with the same things as his Beatitude Onuphriy is accused of now. Actually, both metropolitans loved and love their country. Still, the interests of their church have always been a priority for them. As for the quotations laid above, they prove just one thing. People who are criticizing a canonical church in Ukraine do not really care who its primate is. The very fact of the church existence spoils their lives. And the continuous attempts to oppose the current head of the Ukrainian Church to its predecessor are nothing more than primitive political technologies.